Hello, it's Denise with Mint Green Mama, and I'm here today to do a little talk about my crystals. I actually was going to try to do like a crystal tour, but my setup isn't quite maybe the best for that. And I wanted to bring a lot of my crystals down to talk about them. And then what happened was, as I was walking around my house, I noticed I have a lot of crystals. And I knew that, I mean, crystals like on my honeymoon, I went to I went quartz crystal hunting in Arkansas. So like it's always been important to me. Like that's been a thing since I was little. So I thought, you know what I would do is maybe just talk a little bit about my crystals and how I store them in this video, and then I think I'm going to do a separate video on my crystal skulls because it was just going to be too long and too hard to get all of my stuff in one place for one video. So just a little bit about me and crystals. I have been collecting crystals since I was very little. Like, I don't even remember how old I was, but the first time I went into a metaphysical store, the thing I was drawn to the most were the crystals. And I used to get like the little, like, they have like, would have like little tiny, like tumbled pieces, and there was a little list of like what their metaphysical properties were, and so I would pick out a few, and I had like a little pouch that I wore around my neck, and I would keep them all in there, and I wore them around all the time like I was that kid. And I just never stopped really being obsessed with them as I've gotten older. And sometimes it hasn't been like on the forefront of my mind all the time, crystals, but I it's always been there. Like it's just been very important to me. And when I was about, I want to say maybe around 16, I took my first crystal class at a local metaphysical store, and there I learned how to do healing layouts and setting intentions with crystals, like just basically working with crystals, and with a focus especially on learning crystal healing. And it was very hands-on. I was very lucky to be close to a place that I could go for that. It was very fun. And so before that, I had been keeping all my crystals kind of like in little bowls, like all my little pieces. So I would have like, you know, just whatever little stones I had, and I would keep them all there, and I would just pretty much memorize what they were. And then if I hadn't worked with one in a while, sometimes I would forget, because I don't always remember all the little details. So then I would have a stone that, like, for instance, I don't know what these are. Like, it looks like they might even be dyed a color, but I'm not sure. And so I would have these stones, and I didn't want to get rid of them, but I didn't know, what their properties were. And so I it wasn't very efficient way to store my stones. So after I took that class when I was younger, the lady that taught the class, it was an amazing, amazing teacher, and she told us how she stored her stones. And she had like a tackle box, just like a kind of big, fishing like tackle box, and then she would use the different compartments instead of like lures and stuff that she would put her stones. And so what I ended up going to my like local sporting goods store, and so I got several of these little plastic trays, and so I would use these to kind of organize my stones. And this has been a really good way. I mean, I do wish that they weren't plastic, but for me, seems like it's been a really good way for me to store my stones. It worked really well for me. And each of the little, so for example, this is a beautiful little agate slice that I have. And so in each of the compartments, I would put like a little piece of felt with what color I felt like, I think, energy that it had, and the little cotton to keep it as safe as I could. And then I would put a little label underneath that had the name of the stone in case I forgot. So not easy to get to or see, but it would help me to kind of, if I forgot what stone that was, like I could look it up. So that has been really helpful, as like when my kids were really little, there was long periods of time that I didn't work with stones very much at all. Like I would still wear stones. I would have them in my environment, but I didn't do a lot of like meditations or work with them. My first child, my oldest, he did not sleep as a baby, and I was just exhausted for years. And if I tried to meditate, I would fall asleep, which is good because that's what I needed to do. But it was just one of those things. And I felt almost kind of numbed, like I wasn't as sensitive to the energies of the stones as I had been before. So even though I may not have picked these up and looked at them, even some of the ones I could, think like, oh, well, what is this one? I'm not sure. Is it quartz? Like it's a little tumbled piece of something. Well, I could pull the little tag up and see that it was. Hold on, it is. Oh, it's a little tumbled piece of danbarite. So, see, I could mistake that. I could easily mistake that for quartz. So it's been really helpful for me. And I can also take this whole thing and just open the lid and set this outside in my yard and have it charged by the sun or by the moon, whatever I need to do. And so I can just set this whole thing out there. And that's been really helpful for me too. So I just have a few that I'll pull from each of these trays because I don't want to have this be like the longest video ever. So a couple of things I just wanted to touch on is one, let me set this down. So this is for my tiny pieces, because when I was starting out, I didn't have a lot of crystals and I didn't have a lot of big pieces especially. So this, little thing held a lot of my little pieces. And so I have like little hematite, little tiny pieces of garnet, like little tiny chips, basically, a tiny little piece of amber. I don't know where I got all these exactly. Oh, this one's gorgeous. It's so small that I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's a tiny piece of faceted watermelon tourmaline. Oh, there, in the light. Okay, see. It's pretty. And then like a star ruby cab. So, but I still feel like, even though sometimes I feel like, oh, I need like a big piece of that to really work with the energy, I still feel like really, if I was to really quiet myself and tune in and work with a smaller piece of, anything, just like this tiny little star ruby or whatever, like I could still get the energy and work with the energy of that stone from just a tiny piece. And I actually feel like some of my crystal oracles, I can still get the energy of the stone from working with those. And so I feel like that's a good alternative instead of having to buy like a giant piece of every stone. I feel like the little ones work really well. And so this other side, a bunch of tiny quartz like points. The way that we learned in my class, and I retook that class when I was older, and yeah, it's a little smoky quartz faceted piece. Some of those, I think that one I got from like a gem show. But we would someone would be laying down, and we would take like something with a point, depending on what we were doing. And we would use the point to move the energy like through the body and through the different chakras. And then where we felt like there were imbalances or work that needed to be done, that's where we would lay the stones that we were doing for that, or if we were working on something in specific, like lay stones for that. So that's how we kind of learned to do it. And I've been doing stuff like that ever since. On myself personally, although it's not as easy to do it on myself as it is to do it on somebody else. But so I like to have a lot of these points. This is fluorite. It's a couple of fluorite points. And so a lot of these, really these cases that I have were designed when I was doing like crystal healing work, and all of these would fit into like a little soft-sided bag, and the bag has fallen apart, but the cases are still okay, and I would just take the whole bag and go, and so it was really convenient. So I also have a lot of these like fluorite octahedrons. I really like those. Those have a special significance to me. So I tend to, if I see those, I tend to get those. And I also have a lot of Botswana agate. It's just, I find it gorgeous. I'm obsessed with this stone. Like, I just love it, and I tend to acquire a lot of that, along with chrysoprase or chrysoprase. This one is, I think, especially gorgeous color. It's unfortunate you can't really see the color as well on these videos, but it's so gorgeous, and it's like almost kind of like luminous, and it's such a good like healing like heart chakra stone. So I really like to have a lot of those. Oh, and then there's so many fun ones, and these are damperites, these little points. This one is especially fun to work with, and I don't know if I already showed you this one, but this fun little amethyst, you can see it in just the right light. There's little rainbows at the top, and it's super pretty. So that would be kind of an idea, and that's not all the stones in here, but that's like the idea. That would be like one tray. And let's see, and so this one is kind of geared more toward like red and like darker, red, orange, yellow, and then like darker stones. So some black and some like really dark red. Oh no, I'm gonna knock everything over. Don't do it. Oh wow, see, I love this like red jasper. So pretty. This giant piece. The thing about red jasper that's nice is not only do I like it, but it tends to not be one of the more expensive stones. So I do work with it a lot. Let's see, and then I have a bunch of carnelian because I tend to like to, I haven't done it yet in this house actually. I like to put a little piece above all the doorways. It's supposed to be good like protection energy. Let's see. Oh, and this is pretty piece of garnet. I have a matching piece actually in a different room in the house, but I still go through and use these stones in different. Oh, and here's a little piece of it's a meteorite. So yeah, so that has a lot of those. Let's see what's in this one. And so this one has like some more greens and blues and purples in here. So, oops. Ooh, that's pretty. It's a little piece of green smithsonite. Oops. I have a gorgeous piece of pink smithsonite. Oh, and look at this. Aqua Aura. I love these. I know they're artificially created, but I still really love these type. And then let's see. And this one. So pretty. What else? What else? I have some jasper. Jaspers are really good, like earthy one. I really like that. Oh, and this jade. Like you can tell I love going through my stones, but I love jade energy. This one's always been a favorite of mine, this piece, just because of like the shape and like the color. I just like the feel of jade. I don't know. Ooh. Angelite, and yeah, I always say angelite because like angels. I hope that's right. I don't know. It's really pretty. I have a lot of little pieces of this that I put on my sacred space. What else is? Oh, sodalite. Really like sodalite and bloodstone. It's hard to tell the colors on this. Those are really, you don't get all the gorgeousness of it all. Oh, and then this is, I think it's called Prenite. Prenite. Isn't that gorgeous? So, let's see. So I'll go over just a few more items. Okay, so these I bought as Super 7. I know sometimes like there's like a red tipped amethyst that's sold as Super 7. I don't know exactly, but I bought both of these as Super 7 and I really, really like their energy. So hard to tell. Poor lighting. Not really getting the gorgeousness of it all, but those are really fun. And then I just recently got this really gorgeous piece of smoky quartz, and I absolutely love it. Naturally smoky. And it just has all these, like, if you can kind of see in the light, like it looks like etchings on the sides. And it's just really gorgeous. And so some of these containers have started to fall apart. So let's see. Oh yeah, this one, I was so surprised. So this is watermelon tourmaline. Look at that. Like, that's absolutely amazing. I don't know where I found this piece, but I think that's just gorgeous. And let's see. Anything super fabulous in there? I mean, they're all super fabulous, so I don't want to play favorites, but okay, so here is my collection of, I've got several pieces of moldavite. Moldavite's one of my favorite stones. So this is like a tumbled moldavite piece. There you can kind of see like the translucency. And then I think all my other pieces of moldavite are like this raw. And so I have some little ones. And this one's like this gorgeous piece. So yeah. Oh my goodness. And then a few quartz points and like a little Vogel point, although that one's chipped. As I still have to be careful with those. And I mean, they're not like, it doesn't keep them from the crystals from knocking into one another and all that good stuff. So I'm still trying to be careful, and they don't always make it because I've moved a lot and I've had a lot of those for many, many years. And so, so yeah, they're all gorgeous. So I won't show them. Well, this one's so pretty. It's a little celestial one. But one last thing I wanted to mention was, so I've started doing I'm putting together like crystals for a divination set. My goal is to kind of create my own divination set. And I haven't quite decided how many of these will actually stay in here and how many I will kind of shift over and move around. But yeah, so I just thought like putting together a divination set with crystals has been on my things I want to do since forever type of a list. And I finally started getting a few together. And yeah. And I even have them in here with a list of what stones I have. And even then, sometimes I forget which ones are which. So yeah, so I just know for me, having them where they're labeled, it generally works a lot better. So yeah, this is already kind of like 20 minutes long, so I'm not going to keep going. But so recap, I have a lot of crystals. I love crystals. I work with crystals every day. And even if I've gone periods of time where I didn't like specifically meditate or, work with crystals, I almost always am wearing a crystal or have one in my pocket or keep one. I always keep one in my purse. And I've always, always, always carried a moonstone with me when I travel. And yeah, there's just so many other ways that I use them all the time, even if I'm not like consciously using them. So I just thought I would share a few of those. And especially I just wanted to kind of touch on how I store them, because that was something that's really helped me keep straight all the different crystals and their names so that I can remember what they are, and that's about it. So I'd like to do another of these videos just about my crystal skull family, and yeah, and so I hope I pronounced everything right. If you have any questions, just let me know. And I'm just happy that I got to share some of my favorite things with you today. So thanks for stopping by, and I will talk to you again later.